Welcome to the Find Your Leadership Confidence podcast with Vicki Noethling. You are about to discover impactful lessons that help you grow as an individual, grow your confidence, and find the positive and good within you, so you powerfully and authentically become the best version of yourself. Be sure you visit our website at www.findyourleadershipconfidence.com. While you're there, subscribe to us via your favorite network. Now tune in, get ready, and enjoy the journey of emerging as a leader of exception in the 21st century.
Welcome, everyone, to the Find Your Leadership Confidence podcast. I'm your host, Vicki Noethling, coming to you from Roswell, Georgia. The goal of this podcast is to bring topics and guests that will empower you to become that confident leader and take your business and your life to the next level. Today, I am very excited to have with me Kenneth Kunken, and let me tell you just a little bit about him. Ken Kunken broke his neck playing football for Cornell University in 1970, leaving him almost totally paralyzed from the shoulders down. After a lengthy hospitalization, Ken returned to Cornell, where he completed his undergraduate degree in engineering. Ken then earned a Master's of Arts degree at Cornell Education, and as well as a Master's of Education degree at Columbia University in psychology. Ken became a nationally certified rehabilitation counselor and worked for more than 2 years at Abilities, Inc., where he provided vocational and placement counseling to severely disabled individuals. Wanting to accomplish still more, Ken enrolled in yet another university, Hofstra University School of Law. Ken worked for more than 40 years as the Nassau County Assistant District Attorney, where he became a deputy bureau chief. Ken is married and the father of triplet boys. His book, I Dream of Things That Never Were, the Ken Kunken story, was published in 2023, just a little while ago. So we're going to talk about this fantastic career that you've had, this life that you've had, making the most of a bad situation. Please join me in welcoming my guest, Kenneth Kunken. Kenneth, what a story. You know, as I read that the first time, I thought, this man just never gives up. He does not give up, and it's so inspiring. But before we get into the meat of this, I'd love for you to share just 2 easy questions. The answers to where do you live? Where do you call home right now?
I live in Rockville Center, which is on Long Island in New York State.
You can have that. You have that Long Island accent in the background.
I've been told that.
And then we talked about your journey, but I just love for you to say, what was it in your upbringing, bringing your family? What made you just say, I'm not going to give up. I'm not going to let this win? What was that, the moment or moments that really changed your life?
It was definitely the support and encouragement and love I received from my family. I was fortunate that I have a very strong family background. My family basically assured me after my injury that if need be, they'd act as my arms and legs to make sure I could do everything I wanted to do in life. And just to tell your viewers a little bit about my background, my mother died when I was less than 1 month old. So my family is used to coming together and helping each other. She died during the polio epidemic in 1950. And as a result, for a while, I lived with my grandparents before my father remarried. And unfortunately, his second marriage was not a happy one, and it ended in divorce. So once again, my extended family has helped me every step of the way in my upbringing to make sure that I still was able to leave a a happy, useful, productive, and rewarding life. So following my injury, I knew I could depend on them. And while I appreciate your introduction, the one thing that it doesn't contain is all the help and support I've received
Yeah.
from so many people along the way that enabled me to do what I was able to do.
Yeah. I would love for you to share that because each step of the way, you had to have help. You know, your lovely wife is there. Should say hi. Your lovely wife is there helping you now, but every step of the way to get each of those degrees, you had to have help. And gosh, you're so fortunate to be able to find people that always saw something more in you.
I really was. And again, when I went back to school, whether it be my personal care attendants or my fellow classmates, they were certainly of great help. But in addition, my family itself, I mean, I have an older brother, a younger sister, but I have cousins, aunts, uncles. I had grandparents who have unfortunately since passed away. Everyone contributed to helping me do everything I wanted to do. And now, of course, as you mentioned, I have three wonderful sons who are all sophomores in three different colleges in upstate New York. And when they're home, they help me as well. So I'm very fortunate.
What an inspiration you are to them because, uh, college, high school, all those things are tough times. And I think, it would be hard to go to dad and say, oh, I'm sad about this or this is too hard. And I just don't know that they could do that, although maybe they did. But I just think, oh gosh, you're such an inspiration.
Thank you.
So why is it important to keep expectations high for yourself and others?
I learned that very early when I was in the rehab facility. I saw that many of my fellow patients who had been hurt longer than I was and had come back for other, treatment at the rehab center didn't seem to be doing much with their lives. And I thought a good deal of that reason was because the medical personnel did not have very high expectations for them. They were not being encouraged to go out and either go back to school or go to work. The attitude seemed to be, you have a disability, so accept it and basically sit home and live with it.
Yeah.
I was fortunate that my family kept high expectations for me. They encouraged me to go back to school. They encouraged me later to get a job and work. And I think having those high expectations to believe there's still a lot you can do with your life made a huge difference in my recovery and my rehabilitation.
Yeah, your mindset was just right in the sweet spot that just that's a huge thing too. I think and you obviously have a great mind and intellect to do all the things that you did, but to understand that that positive attitude means so much. It really can motivate you and really drive you to do the things that you did.
I learned a lot from my family in the importance of helping others. They
Mm.
were always willing and able to help me in every way that they could. So I was encouraged when I was growing up to know it's important to help others when you can. So that's why I loved the opportunity I had to work as a rehabilitation counselor, where finally, after I had been the recipient of so much help, I was in a position where I could then offer help to others and do what I could to help others succeed in life.
So my next question was, what motivates you to be the best you can be? And I think you kind of answered that somewhat. But as you are working with these people that have challenges, I think you have to be a good listener as well to be able to really show them that they're seen and heard, so that maybe they can get that attitude, that perspective that you had. How do you not only motivate yourself, but how do you continue to motivate those that you work with?
Well, there are a number of different ways, but once again, I might add that I had been the recipient of so much help for so many years. I felt that it was important to pay some of that back as best I
Mm,
could. And in fact, I also felt that because my family was doing so much to help me, I felt I'd be letting them down if I didn't do everything I could do to now help others. When I was injured, I didn't know of any other people in my condition that were out in the community and doing
yeah.
something active. Now, there may have been people there, but I just didn't hear about them. I mean, I had the added misfortune of being injured 20 years before the Americans with Disabilities Act took effect. So
Right.
most facilities were not accessible to someone in my condition. So you didn't see many people out in public in my condition. And I didn't have any role models back then that I
Mm,
could look to say, you can do these kinds of things. So once I had the help I received, I was hoping that by doing the things I did, perhaps I could then help others and maybe become a role model for others to show them that they could do the same things.
right. So, who inspired you, or what made you decide to write your book?
Well, I actually started writing my book while I was still in the rehab facility.
Oh, wow.
This was over 50 years ago. A friend of my Aunt Lorraine's came to visit me in the rehab center, and he had done some writing as, like reviews of plays or,
Mm,
short stories. And he thought maybe it would help me deal with the depression I was in at the time, but also to share what it was like to be in a rehab facility and what a spinal cord injury entailed. So he used to come to the rehab facility once a week and asked me to tell him a bit about what I was going through so that he would write it down and perhaps someday be able to publish it as a book. So we started this more than 50 years ago. And after a while, I felt it was important to share with other people what I was going through because most people had no idea what it was
mm.
like to go through rehabilitation or what a spinal cord injury was like. I mean, I was injured more than 25 years before Christopher Reeve was
I
injured.
was just thinking that, yeah.
Right. So once Christopher Reeve was injured, that attracted a lot of attention to people with spinal
Mm,
cord injuries, and people had the opportunity to learn more about it. But I was injured well before that. So people
mm,
did not have that basis of knowledge to understand what I was going through. And I thought it important to share that, to show people, one, that I'm still just like anybody else. I'm
mm,
just physically limited now. My mind is
mm,
still intact. But two, that I can still go back to school and learn new things and that I
mm,
could work. And I wanted to encourage others to know that it makes good business sense to hire people with disabilities because
mm.
they can become some of the best workers an employer can ever hope to find. And I also wanted to write the book because I wanted to share it with my children so that they would know in detail exactly what I went through and exactly how much their mother has helped me now for more than 20 years. Because I've been
Yeah.
so fortunate to meet and marry the most incredible woman anybody could ever hope to find. And that's
Yeah.
my wife, Anna.
Oh. So you mentioned a little bit about depression and um, and really in a way your friend was helping you write a journal. I know whenever I had my grandfather pass away unexpectedly, and I wrote a story about him, and that helped me get through that. So, how important is it that you have some outlet, whether it's writing or recording, your story, your feelings, to help you get through depression and stress?
Well, I thought it was very important to have an outlet to talk about it. And I was
Hmm.
fortunate that I had an older brother that I could confide in, or one of my nurses that I grew very close with and confide in, as well as my other family members. In terms of writing it, though, much of what I wrote I wrote many years after my injury. And that actually was difficult for me to do
Mm.
because I was reliving some of the
Yeah.
most difficult times of my life and trying to do it in detail, which was not something that I really looked forward to doing, but I felt it was important to share that information. So
Mm.
if anybody else was going through something similar that I was, or a family member or a caregiver, or just anybody dealing with diversity, I thought it was important to share that so perhaps I could help others.
Yeah, I think that's important because people maybe listening to, all the things that I said about you in the beginning think, well, it must be easy for him. It must have been easier. He's a different, it's not me. But I love that you do talk about and, encourage people to get your book to read about those things that were the struggles, that there were times where you felt why me and all those kind of things. I think it's important for people to understand that you do have to have those lows so you can appreciate the highs.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think it's important for people to see that it has been done before, that you
Mm.
don't have to reinvent the wheel, that, because you're going through challenges and facing adversity in your life doesn't mean you can't face them head on and overcome them. And I think it
Yeah.
helps them to see they're not the first person that this has happened to or is facing these difficult situations. And I hope it encourages them to do more with their lives.
Yeah, and technology has been um, helping in that regard too for people with disabilities and now with what AI might bring as well. But definitely, it's good that you pointed out that you were there before this happened to you before all of those things were really around to help. I
In
know my
fact,
mom's
just
in a yeah,
uh,
my mom's in a wheelchair now, but
uh,
just to have ways that you can do things
it
with the
makes a
aid
big
of
difference.
computers.
If I can comment on that,
Mm-hmm.
I was injured
Please.
well before laptop computers were
Yeah.
invented. In fact, when I was hurt, it seemed the best the medical personnel thought that I would ever be able to do would be to someday sell magazine subscriptions over the telephone. Now,
Mm.
bear in mind, at that time, there weren't even touch tone phones. They were rotary phones, which I couldn't even dial. So, and electric wheelchairs have come a long way since then as well. So
Mm.
technology has made a huge difference in what I and others can now do with their lives.
Yeah, for sure. And, I have a desk that moves up and down. Before, if you had a desk in a wheelchair, you might have fit under it well. And so, yeah, there's a lot of things that have come out to help make things a little more comfortable, if you will, for folks. I'm
Very
very
much so.
curious. I'm curious as why a trial attorney? Okay, psychology. I'm thinking, well, maybe there's a logic to it, but why a trial attorney?
Okay. Excuse me just 1 minute. Thank you. A couple of reasons. One, my older brother was working as a trial attorney
Uh,
at the time. He was a public defender at the time. His name is Stephen, and I used to go watch him in court and think, boy, this looked really interesting. But also, I would get to see him talking in front of a jury and a judge and a large courtroom. And I thought, with all my limitations, I could still talk.
yeah.
But in addition, when I was working as a rehab counselor, one of my duties and responsibilities was I was sent out to speak at many conferences before groups and organizations concerning affirmative action for people with disabilities and non discrimination and
Hmm.
employing people with disabilities. And often after my talks, I would be asked questions. And while I would do my best to answer those questions, I was always careful to caution the questioners they should really consult with a lawyer about their concerns. And I guess it wasn't long before I started to think, there's no reason why I couldn't become that lawyer. So
Mm.
that's one of the reasons why I left my job as a rehab counselor and went to law school. And while I was in law school, I did a summer internship at the Nassau County District Attorney's Office. And not only did I enjoy the experience, I found a new way that I could help people and serve the community as a whole. So I enjoyed my experience at the office so much so that I decided that's where I wanted to work. And I was fortunate that the district attorney at the time, a person by the name of Dennis Dillon, placed his hiring decisions on my abilities rather than my disability.
Yeah, so important. And I love the fact that you said that you could talk. And part of what I do is help people find their voice and understand the power of the voice. You definitely can be persuasive and motivational by your voice for sure. So you had three boys.
You know, one of the things
That's-
I might add is, when I was injured, I was only 20 years old.
oh
And
wow.
I was determined to try and pick up my life where it had been before my
Mm,
injury and try and do as many things as I thought I would do had I not been injured. And one of those things was, participating in normal daily activities, which included dating. I wanted to
mm,
meet and have the perfect relationship with a wonderful, wonderful woman. And as you might imagine, dating when you're quadriplegic and trying to
mm,
impress a woman when you're almost totally paralyzed poses its own unique set of challenges. So it took me a while, but I was fortunate that I eventually met
mm.
the perfect woman for me. Her name is Anna. She's sitting off to my right, just off camera. And Anna's the most incredible person I ever met. And when we talked about getting married, it was Anna's idea that we have a baby. And to me at the time, I thought this would be impossible. At the time, I'd been paralyzed for more than 30 years, and I was
Yeah.
already in my 50s. But Anna's 19 years younger than I am, and we pursued various options, including in vitro fertilization.
Hmm.
And we're very excited to learn it still might be possible for someone in my condition to father a child. So we pursued it. And not only did Anna become pregnant, she became pregnant with triplets. And I was actually present in the delivery room. Anna
Nice.
gave birth to my three sons, Joey, Jimmy, and Timmy.
Oh,
What a thrill.
so yeah, so wonderful. So then I guess you had this time of being not only a dad but an older dad too. So that
Absolutely.
comes with some wisdom.
It was interesting because my sons, they're unique in so many different ways. I want them, their
Hmm.
mother's from Poland originally. So they grew
Mm.
up also learning how to speak Polish. Here they
Ah.
are, triplets. They have a father who's a quadriplegic. And yet one of the things that used to come up for them so many times is their father's so much older than their friends' fathers. A lot of
Mm.
people thought I was their grandfather when they'd see me. So that was another challenge our boys had to
Yeah.
face.
I can relate to that. My youngest brother is 20 years younger than me,
Huh?
and my dad was 54 when he was born. And so, yeah,
I was
you go to the
54
store.
I was 54 when my boys were born.
There you go. See, a little bit of similarity.
Right?
But but I actually think that my dad had mom and dad had six kids before that seventh one, and he at that older age, as I said, that's why I said you can. I think he appreciated being a dad more because life was a little slower, not all the craziness of having six kids everywhere. He could appreciate all the things that the kids were doing, or my godson, my brother, was doing as he was growing up. First, I think it was the first time I ever saw him do saw a baby do things because before he was working 3 jobs just to try to
Right.
pay for everybody. So
Well,
yeah,
being a dad has been the best part of my life. It has
yeah.
been a joy every step of the way. It brings me so much pleasure. And I actually retired from my job in 2016, which gave me more time to spend with my boys. And
Mm,
it has just been a tremendous journey to watch
mm,
them and help them grow up. And
mm.
now they're sophomores at 3 separate colleges in upstate New York, all studying a different major and doing absolutely phenomenal. And they've remained very close as well, which is great to see. I love that they recognize the importance of family and what a special bond they have with each other.
Mm. That's awesome. Nothing more important than family.
Right.
Well, it has been fabulous chatting with you today. Such an uplifting story. And thank you and your wife for being a guest today. I have a slide, as always, to share with your contact information. So, those that are just listening, you know the drill. You should have been taking notes all along, but the good thing for you all is you can go and get his book to read more about his life. But if you're watching, you can get a screenshot. Listening, you can go to YouTube, Vicki Noethling's my channel that you can definitely get all of the notes there. And as well as my findyourleadershipconfidence.com website. So the website is his name, KenKunken.com. On Facebook, you can just search Ken Kunken. On LinkedIn, it's Kenneth J Kunken and some numbers. Instagram is Kenneth.Kunken or Ken.Kunken, excuse me. And YouTube is at Ken.Kunken. Those have initial caps though, Ken Kunken. I'm going to turn it over to Ken. He's going to talk to you about a little bit more about his book, where you can get it, what you can find on his website, and where he might spend the most time in terms of social media. So, Ken, it's all yours.
Great. Thank you. Well, let me first tell you where I got the title for my book. While I was still a patient in the rehab facility, now we're talking about in April 1971, I was asked to testify before a United States Health Subcommittee chaired by Senator Edward Kennedy.
Oh,
And
wow.
8 days after my testimony, Senator Kennedy sent me a glass paperweight in the mail that had an inscription on it that the senator said his late brother Robert Kennedy liked very much. And the quotation on the inscription was, "Some men see things as they are and say why. I dream of things that never were and say why not." And that's where I got the title of my book, I Dream of Things That Never Were, the Ken Kunken story.
Nice,
So
nice.
I'm
Great
so
story.
thank you. I'm so pleased that it's now out in both hardcover, in a Kindle ebook version, and even as an audio book. And if
Good.
they go on my website, they can see where to purchase it, kenkunken.com. I mean, certainly it's available at Amazon as well as other areas. But if they wanted to order it in bulk, they can go directly to my publisher, 12 Tables Press, to order it from him directly. And that's indicated on the website as well.
Awesome.
So I've been very pleased at the reception I've gotten from my book, for all the people that have read it. And I'm excited for the fact that now hopefully more people will be encouraged to hire people with disabilities
Mm.
because they see not only that it's been done before, but that people are doing very well when they hire somebody with a disability. And if I might add that once I retired, the district attorney in Nassau County actually named an award after me. It's
Oh,
called the Kenneth J. Kunken Award.
mm,
It's the only award that the office gives out on an annual basis, and it's given to the outstanding assistant district attorney each year who best demonstrates that they have the work ethic and the dedication to the office as they felt I did, the person
mm.
who uses a wheelchair, the person with a significant disability, that's who they're looking to honor, the person that shows the work ethic of the person in their office that has a disability.
Wow,
And I'm
that's
just so
awesome.
proud of that award and the fact that they're doing that.
That's fantastic. Ken, it has been such a pleasure chatting with you today. Thank you so much for being an awesome guest.
Thank you. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to be a guest on your show and to share my story with all your viewers and listeners.
Awesome. As always, I remind everyone that life is a journey, and it's up to you to enjoy the ride. This is Vicki Noethling, signing off.
Thank you for tuning into the Find Your Leadership Confidence podcast with Vicki Noethling, where we share impactful lessons that help you grow as an individual, grow your confidence, and find the positive and good within you so you powerfully and authentically become the best version of yourself. Remember to visit our website at www.findyourleadershipconfidence.com and enjoy even more great episodes like this one. Again, while you're here, subscribe to us via your favorite network. We look forward to seeing you next time on the Find Your Leadership Confidence podcast.